Good evening. It is Sunday night at 7 o'clock. It's WOSFL Weekly. I'm your host, Jonny Baillie, and delighted to be joined this weekend by Glasgow University manager James McCauley. James, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, mate. Good. Thanks for having me on. Pleasure. I watch the show every week. I see what you say about me or don't say about me or the team. So it's good to be on and it's good to be part of it.
No, listen, flattery will get you everywhere, but I'm personally really looking forward to it because, as I've said numerous times, I always like to get people on that I've either not met before or clubs I don't know a lot about. And I think from the outside looking in, and this is very kind of uneducated, excuse the pun, but probably don't know a lot about Glasgow Union and how it functions just as a club, if that makes sense. So really looking forward to picking that up with you later on in the show once we come to that. Just remember that if you are watching us live, then as always, get in touch. Last few weeks have been brilliant. People getting in touch, comments and questions and stuff like that. Keep it coming. Not as many games to cover this weekend. I think there's only 22 games in total, but obviously there was a few managerial changes as well. People leaving and some people have been appointed already, which we'll cover straight off the bat. But if you are watching as well, please hit the like button on YouTube if you can and subscribe to the Pyramid Promotions channel. If you're listening on audio form, then please rate and review, download the episode if you can. Just a quick shout out to our sponsors, Roxburgh Insurance Brokers. If you're needing any insurance coverage, and get in touch with Roxburgh. GLA Chauffeurs for all your executive travel needs. And of course, VSN Sport, who Gary will sort your club out with some bespoke kit if you're needing it. Okay, James, we'll start, as I said, we'll start with the news, if you like.
What bit of news?
What one? I know. We'll start with Gart Cairn just because they were a Premier League side last year. They've been doing really well this year. And then it all just seems to have gone belly up, for want of a better phrase. So what's your take on it, looking at it from the outside?
Yeah, so to be honest, I don't know too much. You hear a lot of things. I was speaking to a couple of boys today. I think it's clear to see there's some money cuts or the funds have been taken out somewhere there. A couple of fallouts from what I've been told. As I said, that might just be speculation. As you said, they're looking good in terms of the league, but their result at the weekend there sort of shows the problems that they might have behind the scenes, losing 6-2 to Muirkirk. I'm sure we'll touch on that later. And I think now the problem is they're probably going to have to rely on a lot of 20s boys, a lot of youngsters. I think it's the 20s managers that have gone in there as well. Is it? I think so.
Yeah.
And then you're obviously seeing on social media constant transfer list. So there's obviously some serious problems behind the scenes. As I said, that might be difficult if it is young players coming in, new managers coming in. To stay where they are in the league might be difficult.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really difficult for them now, to be honest. The club what they've built, because we always looked at it from the outside in getting relegated. We know they've got good players and they pay good money, or they did pay good money. And I think when they got relegated, we were all looking at them thinking, are they going to keep that up with a view to getting straight back into the Premier League, or are they going to have to cut back and consolidate and just try and maybe get one of those top 8 spots, whatever? It was clear that they decided that they were going to keep the squad and invest in the squad and then back Ryan and Darren to do the job of getting them back up and possibly winning the league, which they looked very much on target to be competing for. I know Irvine Meadow sitting really well, and Jamie's just signed a new deal as well till 2028, so congratulations to him. But for me, in my uneducated view, it just looks like they've run out of money, or something's happened and they've decided we can't keep paying the money that we've been paying to players. What I've heard now, I did speak to Ryan McStay, and he was very magnanimous. He was very complimentary. He didn't say anything bad whatsoever. He was just saying that he's had loads of messages and he wants to thank all the players who were brilliant for them and stuff like that. So Ryan was very much keeping his cards close to his chest. I did offer him if he wanted the chance to come on and let loose or let rip and stuff like that, and he said no, that's not his style. So very much fair play to him. But I did kind of ask about other people, and what I've kind of heard was that they were told that this was going to happen at the end of the season, so they were going to rip it up basically and go with the 20s, etc. And then that obviously put Ryan and Darren in a situation which is pretty untenable. Yeah. But it's just a bit of a mess, isn't it, really? And like you said, it's a shame for the guys that are coming in, because they'll probably be up against it right for the word go, because you've seen how many players are going. They might find it difficult to win games. Who knows where Gart Cairn end up in the next 6 months, because you'll know yourself, James, it's okay having 20s teams and youngsters, but as you move up the levels and even in the first division, the margins are fine, and Benburb's getting better, Darville's getting better, Whitlets are improving. There's every possibility Gart Cairn could be caught and not even make that top 8.
No, definitely. I think it's just probably about how good the young boys they bring in are, how good their 20s are. I don't know too much about them. But I think at that level, even we talk about it with our team, we need experience because we've got young boys as well. You need experience in every team. And if they lose that experience, I'm even seeing the boys like Kyle Hutton going on the transfer list today, other senior boys. So it's going to be very, very difficult to stay where they are in the league.
I know. I've kind of lost track of the list of the amount of players that are on the transfer list. I'm sure they'll all get teams because they're all good players. Yeah. I mean, the Jordan Allen, Kyle Hutton, that was today, as you said.
Cameron Wharton went to Kilbarney, I think. So
yeah, Harry Mitchell, Dale Simeon, Jonny Lyon. Just all experienced players that will have no problems getting teams. To be fair, I suppose it's just. I suppose then it comes to how the Gart Cairn play it in terms of asking for money for these players and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So, but we'll just have to wait and see. But a bit of a mess, and I'm especially gutted for Ryan and Darren because they were every day. I think everybody was waiting for them to fail, because Gart Cairn had the money, and then there was the big stushy last year about the points deduction and stuff like that. So I feel like people were looking at Gart Cairn and waiting for them to fail, and Ryan and Darren have come in and done such a good job that I really feel for them. But one thing that Ryan did say, because I asked him the question, I says, "Look, is this sickened you a bit? And you know what I mean? Can I put you off?" But he said, "No." He said quite the opposite. He says, "We'll take a wee break and then we'll look to get right back in to the right club."
Yeah, that's the thing with the gaffers. They'll go on to something else. They'll have a wee break, and they haven't done themselves any harm. The job they've done, to be honest, because 8 wins, I think it is, in 13 games, maybe 2 losses, something like that, and that's a very good season on their regards. Maybe not going down the line, but for them, they've not done anything wrong there. I think they can leave with their head held up high, to be honest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think everybody in the game will feel the same. So it'll be interesting to see where they pop up next. Speaking of which, we had a managerial departure in the second division. David Watt left Thorn, which I was surprised with, to be honest. I don't know about you, James. Are you surprised to see that?
I know David Watt quite well. Obviously, Thorn were in our league last year. They lumped it. They were amazing. Play great football. Have a lot of good players at the club. Actually met them this year in the Cup as well. We beat them in the Scottish Junior, I think it was. And even then, they were playing good stuff. And to be honest, they're sitting 10th in the second division. From a team that came up last year, I don't think that's not the worst outcome. Do you know what I mean? I think normally a club would be quite happy with that, just coming into the league, steady middle table. I was speaking to a couple of boys because I didn't actually. When you messaged me, there's been a couple of sackings. I obviously went on, had a look, asking boys who's been sacked or who's left, who's resigned. And this one did surprise me when I saw it first. David's another one, though, that will go and get another job somewhere else. No doubt about it. He's a very good coach. Very good guy as well. He's helped me an awful lot. He's sent me a lot of info on other teams and so on, so he's been good for that. And maybe it gives him a bit of time to go watch some games for me now, to be honest. I hope David goes and gets a good job. I did hear rumours of a wee fallout with the players and David, but that's obviously speculation. Who knows? I can't speak about that.
I know, but even if there was, especially if it's between the players and the coach, you would like to think that your committee would back the manager.
Yeah, and they obviously backed him. They backed him before that. They backed him for a good couple of years. And I noticed they've made some signings recently or in the past 6 months or so, and that's a sign of backing the manager. But it's interesting. Foreign, I think, their 20s manager's taking the team now. But I don't know if that's long-term, short-term, interim. It'll be interesting to see who takes that job as well.
I think because as well, because David was the assistant before, wasn't he? And then he stepped up to the manager's job. So who knows? It might even just be a case of he's decided that the actual being the manager's no necessarily for him. You never know, because I know certainly that was the case for me. Just speaking from personal experience, when you sit in the big chair, if you like, and then you decide, no, this definitely isn't for me, and that kind of thing. But as you said, they'd done such a good job last year, kind of picking up for where the previous managers left off. And then, as you said, sitting 10th today, there's no kind of shame in that and where they're sitting. I think they've had a reasonable start to the season for a newly promoted side. So unusual, but we'll see what Thorn do moving forward and where David ends up. All the best to him. Again, I spoke to him today just to kind of wish him all the best. And he did just say that he wasn't expecting it, but that's football. Going to take a break till after the new year and see what happens. So all the best. Down in the fourth division, we'll come fourth division and the second division. So Blantyre manager Ross Wilson announces that he's leaving. And in the fourth division, Easterhouse manager Andy Suter tenders his resignation yesterday as well. And then it's announced today that Andy's been appointed at Blantyre. So what do you think's going on there, Jing? Do you think Blantyre have just moved quickly, or do you think Andy did a wee something in the background?
I honestly couldn't tell you, but that just got posted about 6 hours ago or something like that. So it's quite new news. Obviously, Blantyre, Ross was there, for maybe 2 years, something like that. And I think the first year was very difficult. Points deductions and so on with Blantyre Vicks. Listen, for Andrew, it's probably a step up for him. He's probably looking at that and going, that's a good opportunity for me. As you said, I don't know if they contacted him or they already had it on their mind. Who knows? But it's probably a very good opportunity for him because Easterhouse are in our league and they've done well, to be fair. They impressed us when we played them, and I think they've still got a good set of players there. So once again, it'll be interesting to see who takes that Easterhouse job. It's all swings and roundabouts. It's just constant movement in this West of Scotland leagues. But yeah, I wish Andrew all the best. They play good football at Easterhouse, so it might be difficult to play that on Blantyre's pitch, but we'll see how it goes.
I mean, like you said, that we played Blantyre earlier on in the season, and I was impressed with them. I thought they had some good players. I thought Ross managed the situation last year really well, and they'd started the season reasonably well. Again, I think they're sitting 9th in the league, so still well within touching distance of those promotion spots. Jacob has just mentioned there in the comments that he thinks Andy was at Blantyre before with the 20s. So that would... See, this is why we love doing this show, James, because we get people to actually educate me as we're going. So if that is the case, then you can imagine them maybe seeing that on Saturday night and just making the phone call and thinking, well, let's get Andy back, because he knows the club, and it could maybe happen pretty quickly. So,
as well, who that's what it's about.
No, of course. So, and on Andy, I thought Andy done a really good job getting Easterhouse out the 4th division last year. Again, was consolidating. They had a couple of few results this season so far, but they've just been promoted. And I think sometimes there's a tendency to lose a bit of sight of that. We're talking about it with Thorn and then with Easterhouse as well. Like, you've got to set your expectations as such. And I think maybe with some committees, because of the top 8 going up, they're like, all right, we need to be within that. But yeah, if it was a normal season, Thought getting promoted and sitting 10th, nobody would be batting an eyelid. Easterhouse sitting mid-table after getting promoted, nobody would be batting an eyelid. You know, and I do think that the top 8 thing is having a wee effect on committees around the leagues.
Yeah, and I also think teams' success recently of back-to-back promotions and so on puts a bit of pressure on teams and committees, like probably Forns, because you see Threave going up, not back-to-back, but quite sharply. The same with like Bellshill a couple of years ago. They're all going up quite sharp, but I think the leagues are beginning to sort of settle down now and find, well, it all changes next year. But you know what I mean? I think they're starting to make a bit more sense.
We probably don't help on shows like this because we were always talking up Thorn. So maybe the committee's been watching and thinking they should be doing better than they're doing.
But listen, last year they deserved.
Oh, they were brilliant.
They were a very, very good team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So has anybody been sacked since we've been on? Does anybody know? Just it's four managerial changes over the weekend.
I've just had my committee there. That's me.
Yeah. You know, we've never had a live sacking on here. That would be
hopefully tonight. Hopefully not.
That'd be incredible. Mind you, remember Stuart Kettlewell did that? It was at Ross County. We did the interview after the game, and just to let you know, I've just been sacked. So maybe we'll get one. But to be fair, I try and get managers on when they're having decent seasons, and I don't want that in my resume because I'd maybe start greeting. Right, so that's the managerial stuff. Let's go into the games, the actual action in the league. So it's starting in the Premier Division. Auchinleck, Talbot 5, Renfrew 0, and Largs 5, Glenafton 1. So we've got a comment there for our favourite guy, the cycling chainsaw chap, who was just saying that Talbot doing Talbot things. Renfrew looked decent. Willie Muir had a right good few saves at key moments, and Talbot took their chances at the other end. I didn't message Jimmy quickly, but it's a fairly straightforward result for Auchinleck. We spoke to Neil McPherson on Now Ayrshire Radio on Saturday morning, and we were talking about how do you make sure that the boys stay focused with all the talk about the Celtic game, etc., etc. And they've answered that in the most perfect way, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm seeing the comments there. I actually watched this game just an hour ago on the YouTube highlights, but it did very much look like it was a close game up to sort of 50th, 60th minute. I think Talbot were only 1-0 up at half time, and then towards the end they just sort of scored a couple of 85th, 90th minute goals. So the scoreline, it maybe didn't show in the game, but they got them goals late. It's an interesting one, to be honest. Talbot are obviously scoring piles and piles of goals. They put 4 past Dumbarton last week. I think it's maybe 11, 12 goals in 3 games. So that's not a problem for them, and it just shows the level they're at, to be honest. Renfrew is an interesting one because they don't really get battered. Well, they haven't this season. They don't get a thumping off teams. It's all been quite close games. So I think that's the first time they've conceded 5 this year. I might be wrong, but I think it is. But look, Renfrew probably, I don't know, you probably wouldn't expect to go to Talbot and win. So they wouldn't be too gutted about that. And Talbot, it looks like they're staying focused, but we'll see how next week goes.
Yeah, and it's just, I think we kind of said, you would think if you were a player within that Auchinleck team, you would be doing everything you possibly can to try and get yourself in that starting 11 against Celtic in the middle of January. So I suppose that's going to help as well. But we did say, look, the league's their bread and butter. You know, they're not going to beat the Scottish, they're not going to win the Scottish Cup, but they've got a very good chance of winning the league. And on the flip side of that, Truden aren't going away in terms of the league, so they're not going to be able to take their foot off the gas in the league. I don't think, with the way Truden have started. And looking at Largs moving up to 3rd spot, beating Glenafton 5-1, that's a couple of sore ones Glenafton have taken in the last wee while, and they're now sitting down in 12th position, which they had a good start to the season, but it's a bit worrying because that's the last couple of league games. They lost 5-1 to Kilwinning away from home, and now 5-1 at home, and now 5-1 to Largs away from home.
Yeah, as you said, I remember at the start of the season, Glenafton had a very good start, and people were sort of surprised at the start they had. But yeah, it's not looking too good now for them. And as you said, we've had the experience at the uni as well, where you get a couple of heavy losses and it does dampen confidence. There's no doubt about it. With players, managers, anyone. So you just need to get a win on the board as quick as you can and get that out of the system, sort of thing. So hopefully they can go on and do that. In terms of Largs, I think they're always impressive, to be honest. They've actually had a tough run of fixtures. So I think they played Johnston Borough last week. I think they played Talbot a couple of weeks ago. Toon 4 or 5 weeks ago. So they've played some of the big hitters and they've done decent against them, and they're still top 3 in the league. So I think they'll be quietly happy about where they're sitting in the league and how they're performing.
Yeah, and just kind of touching on the Glenafton one, because obviously they I think they had a run of like 6 or so weeks where they never had a league game, and they've had a couple of decent results. I think they beat Johnston Borough in the South Challenge Cup. I know they lost to Armadale last week on penalties, but the results in the league, the last 4 results was 7-1 to Auchinleck. They could beat 4-2 off Renfrew, which we mentioned, and then 5-1 and 5-1 on the bounce. So that's like 4 defeats, conceding a lot of goals. How difficult is it from a managerial point of view trying to navigate these cups and trying to keep the focus right, because your league's your bread and butter, and Glenafton probably need to get in that top 8, I would say.
Yeah. We had the exact same thing where we had 5, 6, 7 cup games in a row, and it was against Foran, Cumnock, Fornywoods, Cambuslang Rangers, all teams above us in the leagues. And I mean, we actually did quite well in them that period. We beat Foran and we lost the others, but not heavy defeats or anything like that. But I feel like when you come back to the league, there's such an emphasis on getting back to winning ways that it's quite difficult to put that onto the pitch. We found that anyway. It kind of knocks us out our strides, these cup games. And I was saying to you earlier, as much as we want to do well in the cups, I think we're realistic enough to know we're not going to win the cups. And to eventually be out of them, I'm probably quite happy about it, and I think the players would be quite happy about it as well. Not to say we lost deliberately. We gave it our best shot, and I'm sure Glenafton have had similar issues with all them cup games, and it's tough to get a bit of consistency when you've got cup game after cup game and then a league game, then a cup game. It's very tough to get a good run.
Yeah, and they play Shotts next week in the league at home, so that then becomes a really big game, because they win that, they could potentially put themselves back into that top 8 spot and jump over Shotts. So that's a big game in the league next week.
Yeah, and Shotts got a good win at the weekend there. I think it was 4 or 5-0. So yeah, very big game for both teams actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, if we jump into the first division, only one game. I think it was a cracker by all accounts, back and forth. Kilbirnie beating Benburb 4-3. Both sides with new managers. The guys at Benburb probably started a bit stronger than the Kilbirnie. The guys at Kilbirnie started well under the new manager, and then have kind of fell away a wee bit. But that was a really important and a really good win for them yesterday.
I think that's Kilbirnie's first league win in a month, or just over a month. So Colin will be delighted to get that on the board. I think it is a wee sort of, big changes at Kilbirnie. We were just talking there about boys being transfer listed. They're actually signing a lot of boys, signing a lot of good players. I noticed they signed someone from Pollock the other day. They've signed a couple, Brian Wharton from Garcairn. So they're spending a bit of dosh, I think, and trying to get Kilbirnie flying high. They've also been struggling a wee bit with injuries, because I know their centre mid, Declan Walsh, he just took a bad knee injury, and he's one of the best players I've seen in these leagues, to be honest. And sometimes you can be unlucky like that, but as you said, Colin will be delighted to get that win on the board after that tough wee spell. At the start of this journey there.
Yeah, he's obviously went in and evaluated the squad, and it's good that, as I've said that before, and similar to when we were talking about Brian Reid at Whitlets, that the committee have got behind them and said, no, like, we recognise your point of view, and he's saying, right, we need to make some changes. And being involved in it, James, you'll be the same. You know how difficult it is to do that, especially at this time of year. So it must give Colin a bit of kind of confidence that the committee are going to back him to enable him to make these changes?
Yeah, definitely. It's so hard to make big changes while you're trying to win games. It's one of the hardest things I've found. But especially, obviously, Kilbarney's a wee bit different to us. They've got the opportunity to go out and buy players they want. We don't have that, which I'm sure we'll come on to. But to make all them big changes, make new signings, get the team playing together, new boys meeting each other, getting boys back from injury, I think once it starts to settle, I think Kilbarney will end up in that top 8 after that poor start to the season.
Yeah, I think so too. Although looking at the table there, it's really tight. I mean, it's going to be great. It's going to come right down to the wire, and you see obviously Ben Bubb, who have picked up under Gordon Robertson and teams like that. And I suppose the only downside with so many cups is there's a bit of disparity between team numbers of fixtures that have been played. So I think we've got a fair few league games next week, which will Kilburn go to Petershill, Darvel play Vale of Clyde, St Roch's play Irvine Meadow, which will be an absolute cracker. If that's hopefully that beats the weather. And just while we're touching about Irvine Meadow, I mentioned earlier about Jamie McKim signing a deal till 2028, and I was talking on Saturday morning. Just it's unusual enough for managers to have a contract at this level, never mind get a contract for that length of time. So what do you think it says about Irvine Meadow's belief in Jamie that they've given him a contract till 2028?
Yeah, I think it speaks volumes of what he's done at the club in the last year or so. Obviously, when he first came in, they got a wee boost, and then they lost a couple. But this season, they're flying. And I'm seeing the squad of boys they've got. They've got a big squad by the looks of it, with big quality. Like, I'm seeing boys on the bench that for any other team in the league, I think they're starters. And to have that as a manager is amazing. Sadly, I don't fully have that, but I would say Irvine Meadow, I don't see anyone topping them in the league, honestly. And I think that is down to the work Jamie's doing at Irvine Meadow, and that is why he's getting this new contract. Because obviously Gartcairn and below, we've talked about their problems. St Roch's, I don't see them beating Irvine Meadow, to be honest. And yeah, I think they can win that league, no bother.
Yeah, the Gartcairn situation really knocks them out of it for me. And like you said, St Roch's I've made the mistake of underestimating St Roch's in the past, to be honest, probably because, again, it's maybe a club I don't know much about. So maybe that's my own ignorance that's leading to that. But next week's game will be really interesting to see how it comes out on top of that. And I feel if St Roch's can get the win, now it's at St Roch's, so that gives them a real advantage. And we'll see. I'm sure the crowd will be out in force for that, and then they can really put the pressure on. So a massive game. If you're in the East End of Glasgow, I would definitely get along to that one and watch. It'll be good. And obviously Irvine Meadow with the Rangers connections and going to St Roch's, I'm sure it'll be pretty tasty.
We've got a Friday night game, so I might go and watch that game myself, to be honest.
No, you should. If you do, you can give me a report on the Sunday.
Absolutely.
Let me know. Okay, mate. Okay, into the second division. Only 2 games, Forth 2, Maybole 2, and Ashfield 1, Larkhall Thistle 3. So obviously I spoke to George about the game at Forth. He was really disappointed. I think Forth scored in the kind of late on in the game to get a point. But he felt like it was 2 points chucked away rather than 1 point gained, to be honest. And again, like we were just talking off air, we'll just try to get back into it. I think we had like 5 weeks off and stuff like that and just try to get a bit of momentum going. But on the Forth side, they did a really good result last week, beating Cali Locos, and then that's another point on the board. So Jerry and the boys seem as if they're going in the right direction.
That's actually happened in a couple of the leagues. The teams at the bottom 2 have got their first wins or their first couple of wins, and teams are starting to get their act together a wee bit. And I remember going to Forth a couple of years ago, and it's not an easy place to go. But I think you'll know better than me, Jonny, but I think Mabel will be disappointed with only picking up a point there. Obviously, as well, it's quite an important game because Mabel had the chance to possibly sneak into that top 8 or get thereabouts. And I know it's a long, long season, but that would have given them good confidence. And as you said, in 5 weeks, 6 weeks off wouldn't help. I always find even the game after the winter sort of break, that first game in January is the worst game to play in ever. So
I know, and you can do what you want. You can try and arrange friendlies over between Christmas and New Year, but I think personally, I think they're a bit pointless because boys are they're not in the mood. You know, they've maybe got commitments with kids and they've got nights out and stuff like that. And I know we're semi-professional, so we should be, but I know that Kenny is looking at perhaps putting some fixtures in on the 27th. I think he's put a couple of Premier League games in already. I don't know if there's anything further down the leagues.
You wouldn't be coming near us. Well, it better not come near us on the 27th of December.
Airdrie's closed.
That's it.
But I know it can be a bit of a nightmare just trying to keep things ticking over. And I think the way that it falls as well this year, just because the Saturday's the 27th and we know Boxing Day is a day for that a lot of people like to go to the pub and watch the football and the racing and stuff like that, you know, and have nights out and things. So it's going to be really interesting. But as I said before, we are classed as semi-professional, so I know not everybody gets paid, but a lot of boys are getting paid to play football. So if the expectation's there to play on the 27th, they'll be expected to play on the 27th. Larkhall beating Ashfield. Ashfield, a few decent results recently, but a fairly solid win for Larkhall moves them back into that top 8 spot where I think they probably should be looking at being.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't be surprised to see Larkhall there, and I do think they'll push on from now. Ashfield's an interesting one because they have some up and down results. Like last week, I think they beat Fawn 6-2, and you're going, nah, they can build on that. And then obviously they lose to Larkhall, which isn't an easy game by all means, but they were at home, so I thought they could have had a wee bounce on them. They could have got a wee result there, but I think Ashfield will be quite disappointed with that, having gone and won that game 6-2 last week against what I still think is a very good foreign side. But yeah, that's pretty much it on that.
And Oliver Jones was just saying there about the Bells Hill game, which down at Threave, which was set up to be game of the week, but it was off this week, but it's been rearranged for this week coming. So fingers crossed that beats the weather. Although I don't think the forecast is looking too hot, but fingers crossed down in the south that makes it, because that'll be a great game again this week. And also Bonnet played Greenock this week, I think, up at Greenock. So that'll be a cracker as well. So 4 of the top 5 all playing each other, and the other team, Maryhill, play Blantyre. So Andy Souter's first game as Blantyre managers going to a flying Maryhill. So great fixtures in the second division. The second division is looking hot. Apart from the top 2 are probably running away from it, but the rest of it seems as if it's kind of all to play for.
Yeah, I think I'm going to struggle to pick a game to go to on Saturday. It's a tough choice. But no, close league, and to be honest, a lot of the leagues are close. Maryhill is an interesting one because they're sort of my local team. Well, I live close. I don't live in Maryhill, but I live close to Maryhill. So I head up there quite often. We've got a free week, and Mark's done a fantastic job there. To see them sitting in third is very, very good. And yeah, as you said, did you say Blantyre going there?
Yep, aye.
Yeah. So that wouldn't be a nice starter for Andy. No, Andy.
Yeah, I will see what the weather's like up there. See what the Maryhill Park's right. Okay, James. Before we come on to the third division, Glasgow Uni. Right, what's the deal at Glasgow Uni? Because I think people just don't know the setup at the club. Is it only students that go to the uni that play for you? How often do you train? What do you do? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you sign players? All that kind of stuff. Give us the overview, because I need you to educate me.
Well, how much time do we have to build?
I know.
I'll try to keep
the quick version.
I'll try to keep it brief. So basically, we've got 4 teams at the uni. We've got a first team, a second team, a third team, a 20s team, and we're also trying to get a 4th team. So that's about 100 players all in. Now, we are allowed to play graduates at first team level. So we've got a couple of graduates this year. We signed Antonio Cici from Garvin, who went to the uni, played for the uni, but after uni went to Garvin. So quite often, if I need experience, I'll sort of go speaking to these boys and see if they want to come back. We don't pay any of our players. They actually pay to play. They pay a membership fee, which is obviously a challenge because if I'm trying to get a graduate for my team that's paying a boy even £50, £60 a week, it's very difficult. That's where our recruitment process is extremely important. We're more looking at 17, 18-year-olds just joining university that are playing at good clubs right now that are joining, and we can sort of take them into the Glasgow Uni football journey as well. And a lot of players do. So we just signed a boy, Neil Blake, there in the summer, who's come from East Fife. He's been on the bench for East Fife first team. He's a striker. He scored numerous goals for us, and we managed to lure them to the uni. So boys like that, it's very good. So I would say the recruitment is more at the early stages. It's very, very difficult to go out and sign boys that are. So there's boys in Glasgow Uni that are out playing for clubs, getting a wee bit of pocket money, and it's hard to get them to sign for us. We give it a go on the odd occasion, but at the same time, you don't blame the boys for going if they're students and getting a wee bit of money. The important thing for me about the uni is we train Monday, Thursday. We play in the uni league on a Wednesday. We play games on a Saturday or a Friday, obviously in the west of Scotland. So we play about 60 games a season. Doesn't help that the boys' social night is a Wednesday night as well. So that's normally a night out in between that, which I can't really stop, to be honest. If we were paying them a penny or two, I probably could stop it, but I can't stop it. On the flip side, the boys are very fit. They're very healthy. They're at the gym every single day. But yeah, the only other thing is, I think it's important for me, and this is the main reason why I'm in the job, I think, is player development. I've got to develop the players that are there in terms of the 20s, the second team, promote them to the first team and make them better players. And then if I can make them better players and they go through their uni experience and then they go to a club, fair enough, we can take that. If anything, that's what we're happy with doing. And there's obviously been some success stories. The boy Keelan Adams, right back for Falkirk, was at Glasgow Uni for 4 years. So he's sort of the model we use. We try and sell that to the boys that are coming. And hopefully he's not the last one to make that jump up to the Scottish Premier League. We've also got boys like Scotty Granger's playing big centre-back, playing for Kirky Lobroy, being one of their outstanding players this year, played for us 5 or 6 seasons. So
I think he played with us at Maybole, did he not?
He did, yeah. He did. Good player. But there's loads of boys dotted about like that. But listen, is it an easy job? No. But it's a job I love. I enjoy it. And as I said, player development, I think, is my sort of thing. So I think it's suited well for me.
So are you employed by the uni? Do you work for the uni?
I am employed, but only on a part-time basis. But
right.
I work full-time in football.
Right. Okay.
But not at the uni.
Right. Okay. So who kind of looks after them then during the week and stuff? Is that just
so so our committee is all our players. So my chairman is a player. So if he doesn't like me, he sacks me. That's pretty much how it works. So all our committee is students. It's a student-led club. In terms of who looks after the boys, it's not like Stirling Uni where they train every day. And I know their manager's full-time, Chris. We would love to get to that stage one day. And I think it should be at that stage one day because Glasgow Uni is one of the top universities in the world. But yeah, I just see the boys a Monday night, a Wednesday, a Thursday night, and a Saturday.
Yeah. So do you see a large turnover of players every year with boys leaving, etc., or is it not as much?
So it works almost in like 4-year cycles. So you'll get the fourth years leaving, most of them leave. So our fourth years that are in the team now will probably leave at the end of the season.
But they can stay if they want because they're graduates of the uni. Right.
Yeah, they can stay if they want. And then obviously the third years become fourth years. They're the most experienced players. They're at the age of 21 or something like that. And then it just moves up and it's a full-on cycle. So that's why I'm saying the first stage is the most important. If I can get a group of 12 good 17, 18-year-olds, by the time they're fourth years, that can be a fantastic team. And I also think that's why the university job, you can't just jump into it for one season and that's you. I don't think it works like that. I think you've got to look 4 years down the line, 3 years down the line. So that's what I'm planning to do anyway.
So how do you set expectations for the club, and do the club have expectations, or is it just about getting the team on the park, or is there, because it must be so difficult because you're basically just working with what you've got. You said you're thinking about 4 years time down the line, so do the club set expectations as to what they want to achieve?
So the club do set targets, and obviously them targets are both with the University League, because they take that very seriously as well, and the West of Scotland League. So we've been set targets. I wouldn't tell you what the targets are. We're top of the Bucks League. We're top of the University League, so we're winning that. We've only got a couple of games left in that, thankfully. But targets is more a big target for us, without going into too much detail, is that player development thing. Can we make players and almost send them to big clubs? I would say that's the main priority of our club, because then it gives the uni a good name, it gives our football club a good name. So I would say that's the key target and key aim. Now, it's extremely difficult because at the start of the year, there's lots of boys away, abroad, year abroad, ski holidays, whatever. I've heard it all. And that's very difficult to manage. So in my opinion, one of our key players, best players, Tony Ferrer, he's away abroad for 6 months, and it's just, at any other club you don't really have to deal with that, and to be honest, without him we've taken a wee hit, and we've had to change things a wee bit, and I think that's the difficulty you get at our club compared to a lot of the other clubs. And that's not me just going, shame for me, but that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm. No, because looking at the season, you had a really strong start to the season, and then, as you said, you took a couple of sore ones to Dalry, Port Glasgow, so, and then obviously you've been kind of up and down since. Is that how you feel that this season is going? What's your feeling?
Yeah, so it's a weird one, and obviously I've heard you talk about it. We notoriously start slow, and it's happened for years and years, and normally after Christmas we get going. That is a normal season. This season's been completely different because we started off, we were flying, we were doing fantastic, and I've said it numerous times on here already, the cup games did kind of kill us a wee bit and stop the rhythm, and obviously a couple of boys went away, but at the same time a couple of boys have come back in. I think the target for this season, in my opinion, I think people are targeting top 8. For me, I think we're underachieving as to where we are right now, and I think some people might be surprised at that, but I honestly believe that the quality we've got in our team is as good as anyone's in our league. That's honestly what I believe, and I watch games in our league constantly. And I actually remember listening to Dean on your show at the very start of the season, and I think he actually tipped us for the league. Mm-hmm. I'm not tipping us for the league, but I do think we can be so much better than what we are doing, even though that start, I'm not going to complain with that start. I do think after Christmas, we'll go up a few levels.
Good. Yeah. Because, like you said, I know Dean had mentioned it, and I agree. I watched highlights whenever I can, and I've always been impressed with the way you play. I think I remember watching, was it you played Irvin Vicks? It would have been last year, and I thought you were absolutely brilliant. I really liked some of your central midfielders and things like that. But it's just, I suppose it's just a different challenge for you. Do you know what I mean? Like what's because I'll assume that you've got your own ambitions as well, and And so, do you ever feel a bit kind of hamstrung because you're working in the conditions you're working in?
So, no, I think these
You better say no here because else your chairman will be wanting
the boys will be listening to this.
I know, but you know what I mean, though, because you'd be
Yeah.
thinking, right, I want to build a team that can compete and win leagues and get promoted and stuff like that, and then you're maybe not going to get the chance to do that. And the cycling chainsaw chap just asking there, do you think you'll hit a ceiling in terms of where the club can go in promotion terms?
So in terms of hitting a ceiling, it's very difficult to tell because it does depend on the squad you get every year. It really does depend on that. In terms of my aspirations, I think doing this job at the uni and all the challenges that comes with it can't do me any harm. Like, yes, I might have the odd bad season, but I think if people have an understanding of the circumstances that I work in and my coaching team work in, they'd sort of understand why the odd season can be a wee bit worse than the last season. And I don't think that can do me any harm. And I do have my aspirations to go and go higher up in football. And one day I hope to do that. I'm 28. I'm still, well, young, if we call that young.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I've still got years of learning ahead of me. And even if I spend 4 or 5 years at the uni, I'm 34, 35, and maybe from then I can take a job in top junior football or possibly higher. But that's the aspirations. Yeah.
No, it's great. And it's great to, as I said, to get that insight, because I think sometimes, and we're probably guilty of it as well, like talking about the club without actually knowing what the circumstances are. So to have you on and to hear it firsthand and educate us all is really useful.
No, and that's a good thing about this show, Jonny. It's like even the text you send me every weekend asking about the game. I don't think any uni managers of the past have done that, and I think it's a very good thing that we share the understanding of what we do, whether it's a good week or a bad week. I think it's very important for people to know how our club works.
Mm-hmm. No, it's brilliant. So looking at the results for the third division, Craigmark go back top of the league. They go 3 points clear at the top of the league. Yeah, have you played Craigmark yet, James?
Yes, we played them 2 weeks ago and we lost narrowly 3-2.
That's right. But you were happy with the performance, you said, that if I remember rightly.
Yeah, so Craigmark are an interesting team because they seem to just scrape results, 2-1, 1-0s, 3-2s, and credit to them, by the way. Absolute credit to them. You'll probably know as well, Jonny, but Craigmark isn't a nice place to go. It's not an easy place to go.
Saying the least, I coached up there for a couple of years. So
but they're very organised, very structured in terms of defense, that sounds American, but defensively very well structured. And I've noticed when they get chances, they take them.
Because they've got quality at the top end of the park, so you would expect that.
Yeah, and I watched the highlights of the Fnac Craigmark game, and it looked very similar to the game we played Craigmark, and they just had that cutting edge. They just were clinical. They finished them chances, and I think it just shows, like, we probably honestly had 70-80% possession against Craigmark and we didn't win the game. So that just tells a story in itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
football's not about possession.
No, it's about putting the ball in the onion bag, as they say. Port Glasgow, had a good 2-1 win at the weekend as well, and Yoker beat Knightswood. That's a really good result for Yoker. I spoke to Paul PG, who's obviously in coaching them, so he's obviously made a big difference already, and he was just saying it was a good contested game. Knightswood did a great bulk of possession. Yoker 1-0 up at half time. Second half, Knightswood were in control of the ball, had most of the territory, didn't really create much. They were disciplined with their shape and scored the second against the run of play, but sucked Knightswood in and hit them in a counter. I would say we deserved the 3 points, but it was a well contested match. And then I spoke to Michael Pender, the Knightswood manager as well, who was saying congratulations to Yoker, deserved their win. They worked hard in and out of possession. Could have been 3 at half time, no complaints, and they'll do well at home in their current form. They have a squad and they gave boys a chance yesterday to stake a claim. However, it was a collectively poor day, attitude, application over to the standard. experienced players let themselves down. As a club, it's below the standards I expect. Having said that, it's not terminal. They'll review it, reset, and get ready for a fantastic game in the Scottish Cup. So York are going in the right direction. Great result for them. Michael doesn't sound like a happy bunny at all at Knightswood.
Nah, so Yoker, we've not played them. I've actually not been able to watch them this year. So I can't speak too much about them. I know they've had managerial changes, I think. Is that right? And I didn't know PG was in coaching there, so that's good.
Yeah, he just went in last week, so that was his first game.
Okay, nice one. Good. Knightswood, we obviously played last week. We lost 2-1. I was so disappointed with our performance, but also Knightswood didn't perform well on the day either. And I think Michael would agree with that. I've watched Knightswood probably the most out of any team because they play at Kirky. And my brother's Kirky Lubroy club chaplain. So I head up there to watch the games, and Knightswood have impressed me a lot. I think, in my opinion, they're one of the best teams in the league. And I think they will push on. I think it's just inconsistency, but they've got a good mix of experience and youth. They've got a couple of 18, 19-year-olds that are outstanding, and they've got a couple of older players that are just experienced heads. And I think that's what every team needs. So I think you'll get Knightswood sort of sitting about where they are now come the end of the season. And I think Yoker will push on as well.
Yeah, and sometimes, I don't know about you, James, but sometimes the odd game like that, whilst you never want to lose games of football, but sometimes it can be good for a reset.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I said that exactly to my boys last week when we played Knightswood. Although I was extremely disappointed with the performance, I felt like we sort of needed that wee jag. We needed the wee hit. We needed basically maybe a very bad performance to make us so much better than no, we can't do that again. So hopefully that's the case. But I think with this league, I'm looking at the results and everyone can beat everyone. Honestly, on the day, anyone can beat anyone. I mean, Luger beat Port Glasgow a couple of weeks ago, and you see results that surprise you every week, even though we shouldn't be surprised. But that was one that surprised me because I expected Knightswood to go and win that. But fair play to Yoker.
Yeah, I've said before that I wouldn't be surprised to see that, looking at the table just now, so the top 12, the top 13, I would say all the way down to Finat, I wouldn't be surprised to see any of those eight from that 13, to be honest, with the way that the league goes. As you said, it's so topsy-turvy. Teams can beat everybody any time. And you guys played Girvan on Friday night. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, obviously Dean's doing really well with Garvan. He's had a really good start to the season. I think he was annoyed at me because we took Antonio Sisi, so you'll see him on Friday. But nah, it'll be a tough game. I know Garvan have signed some good quality players off Whitlets and so on, so we'll go prepared. We'll go with a game plan, and hopefully we're much better than we were last Friday.
Yeah, definitely. And how do you feel the Friday games work for you guys? Do you feel it gives you an advantage, or do you not really factor it in?
So we don't actually choose to play on Fridays. Basically, if Airdrie have a Saturday game, we get put on the Friday. And listen, I like the Friday night football. I like being at Airdrie under the lights. It also gives me a free Saturday to go watch a game, or a free Saturday to go to the pub, one of the two. But I also think it's good for our players because they get a Saturday and Sunday free, and I like giving them some sort of freedom and off time. In terms, you'd probably have to ask Dean about this, but for an away team like Girvan travelling on a Friday night to Airdrie, it might not suit them, which might also suit us. So, I don't know. There's sort of positives and negatives to it, but I don't mind the Friday nights.
I think nowadays with teams having, as you said, they obviously always get lights. Girvan tried to play on Friday last week and unfortunately was off because of the weather. But I think if you've got the lights, you can then make it late enough that you're no scrambling about trying to rush about from work for a 6:30 kickoff like you do in the summer and things like that. So I don't see any reason why more teams shouldn't be looking at it, because as you said, they get better crowds and stuff like that, and people come to watch it and stuff, and you'll get managers and coaches and players from other teams that will come along because there's a game on, you want to get out of the house, So I'm all for it, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the thing that we notice. We get bigger crowds on the Friday nights because we get managers, coaches, players from other teams coming to watch the games. So I honestly think if you've got the stadium to do it or the facilities to do it, I think there should be more Friday night games.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
I thought you might have been a Saturday 2:00 sort of man. Just nothing else.
No, I mean, obviously, I think sporadically, not all the time, obviously, but if there's opportunity to do it on the odd occasion and teams are up for doing it, I'm pretty sure Kenny is accommodating. If teams agree that they're happy to do it, it's not a problem. Do you know what I mean? So it's and especially in the maybe kind of the better nights, because I don't know if people would fancy going standing out in the freezing cold in Girvan on a Friday night in December, but if if it's August, September, October and the weather's decent, then maybe it's a bit of a different conversation. And just finally, Knightswood played dice in the Scottish Cup this weekend in round 4. So good luck to Michael and the boys. That's a good opportunity for them to get through to the next round of the Scottish Cup. Okay, we'll get the 4th division of West of Scotland Cup to cover. 4th division, just one game, West Park 3, Giffnock 1. We'll see how that kind of affects the table. Obviously, there wasn't much movement, to be honest, but West Park now moved top of the table, although they've played more games than others. And I think West Park have been there or thereabouts, a bit kind of going about their business a bit quietly, but I didn't even realise until I looked at the table this morning that they were sitting top.
I didn't have a clue until I've just seen it now, to be honest. But fair play to them. We actually played them in pre-season, and they looked like a decent outfit, to be honest. And I didn't actually realise. I thought Carluke were up there, but obviously they must have had a ton of cup games that sort of set them back a bit.
They've had a couple of disappointing results in the league as well, Carluke, recently after the run of cup games.
Yeah, see, so I mean, West Park will be delighted with their start to the season, in all honesty. I do think that league's going to be so tight as well. Like we played EKYM last Thursday in a friendly, and they were outstanding, to be honest. I was seriously impressed with them. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them sort of up there towards the end of the season as well.
Really good result last week against St. Peter's as well. Okay, if we go into the West of Scotland Cup round 2, I don't have any fancy graphics for this one, unfortunately. Just back to the ticker down the bottom of the screen, and it means James and I's faces have grown by about 200%. So apologies, MD's eating their dinner. Cambuslang 3, Vale leaving 1, fairly straightforward. I wouldn't really expect anything other than Cambuslang win. Lanark 1, Vale Clyde 1. Again, Lanark winning penalties. Lanark, it's been well documented the changeover in squad, etc. at Lanark this season, but what they've done this season is they've shown themselves capable of competing and nicking results.
I think that's probably all about character, in my opinion. Like, I think, and I know a couple of boys that play in that league, and they always say Lanark's never easy to play. They've always got that fight and battle about them. And I think they've shown that this season with results like that. And it's even that 6-5 and penalties, it just shows they're fighting till the end. They might know they might not have the best players in the league or the best facilities in the league, the most money in the league, but if they can fight and battle and grind out results, they'll take that every day of the week.
Yep, and then we spoke about Gartcairn at the beginning of the show. They lost 6-2 to Muircut. I did message Ross Cusick just to get an idea of the game. He just says they were happy to get through the tie into the next round. First half they were decent, raced into a 5-1 lead. Second half they scored early and almost immediately conceded a cheap penalty from our point of view, which was disappointing. After that, missed some chances, wee bit of slack play crept in, allowed the young Gartcairn side a few opportunities at the other end. But overall, happy to be in round 3. It sounds as if that game's went the way that you probably would expect it when you just throw a bunch of young boys on the park against a good Muircut side.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking about this actually. It's like to see Muircut 6 and Gartcairn 2, like 2 or 3 years ago, you would have never imagined that ever. And it shows the work Ross has done at Muircut because they've got a fantastic team. But yeah, I think it just outlines the problems Gartcairn have. Yeah, I think it just outlines it perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
that's
because we
what
were all looking at, I was checking it quite regularly. I think Muircup raced into a lead kind of early doors, and you were just kind of looking at it going, oh dear. Do you know what I mean? It's not looking good. Okay, into round 3. I think result of the day probably was Les Mahago going to Johnston Borough. Going to Rutherglen, and winning 3-2. That'll be Greg Mitchell will be texting me there saying you're always trying to stick the boot in Johnston Borough. But Les Mahago going to Rutherglen and winning 3-2. I sent Daryl Meikle a message and he got back to me with a voice note. He was on the team Christmas night out last night, which he said was been extra good after that result, and he did sound a wee bit tender, but he was just saying delighted with the performance and getting into the next round, going and taking a Premier League scalp. Fantastic.
No, that's like when I knew I was coming on, I noted down 2 cup games that I thought were sort of shocks to me, and it was Muirkirk and it was Les Mahago, because I thought that's some result for them. And Daryl's done a great job. That, from what I know, I think he took a lot of the boys from Lanark. Is that right? I don't know.
Aye.
Take a good load of that squad, and it was an interesting step he made actually, because obviously he was going down a division after getting Lanark up. Days like that yesterday probably make it worthwhile, and they're doing really well. And we actually play Les Mahago every pre-season, and Daddle's a great coach. Also another one that helps me out, so I'll speak very highly of him. But Glencairn will be disappointed with that, obviously, or they might see it on the other side of like we can focus on the league now.
Oh, I know, but it's. You never want to lose games. I know we've spoken about it. And said I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth here, because I said sometimes it's not the worst thing, give you a wee reset, but it does. Like players don't care whether you lose in a cup or whether you lose in the league. And I know from a coach and manager point of view, I don't know if you're the same, but I would still feel terrible if we lost to a team that was 2 divisions below us. It takes a very strong mind to put it and say, right, okay, it's just a cup.
Yeah, and I would say something like we're quite quick to slag the cup sometimes, but mostly as a player or a manager, your greatest days or your happiest days are big cup wins. Like we played Cumnock at Cumnock earlier in the season, and we lost 1-0. Adam Ford scored a 60-yard screamer, 88th minute. And to be honest, we were absolutely outstanding. And on the sideline that day, I'm thinking this could be one of my best days as a manager. So without the cups, you don't get days like that. Sadly, that wasn't the day I wanted, but we still did fantastic. But the cup gives you that, and I hope the Les Mahago boys had a good night out on Saturday.
Oh, I'm sure they did. And like you said about Muircup beating Auchinleck 3 weeks ago. And it's funny, we actually had a comment in last week's video about somebody was saying how we always slag off the cups. We don't slag off the cups. What it is it's just it's the disjointedness of it for us trying to cover it, and I know I'm not complaining. I know it's a nightmare trying to get it organised, and games are off, and you're trying to fix things in, and so it's not a dig at anybody. But it would just be. I love the league as my bread and butter, just to see a few weeks of the league. Let's see at the start of the season when you've just got league card for us to talk about. Whereas, as you've said before, sometimes you can have a week where there's 4 or 5 different cup competitions on at the same week, So it's not that we don't like the cups, because I do like the cups, the opportunity for lower league teams to play higher level opposition, and you get shocks and things like that. But it's just for us covering it. It's just how disjointed sometimes it becomes trying to cover it.
Yeah, because the last time you probably had like a full league's fixture list to tackle, or it was probably weeks and weeks ago, honestly.
I can't remember when it was, to be honest. It was a wee while ago, definitely. But I know that I've spoken to Kenny about this before. Like Kenny, and I've said before, Kenny Young is unbelievable in terms of supporting what we're trying to do and giving us information, etc. And I understand Kenny's point that he's trying to get so many rounds of these cups out the way before the weather comes. Because if he's trying to, you can imagine the headache if he's trying to backfill this after Christmas, And
there's already been games postponed, cup games postponed, so it shows the troubles they might have if they don't get them in early.
I know. Well, look, last week, and this isn't Kenny's problem, but you've got Dundonald playing Lugar in the second round of the Scottish Cup, and we're already into the 5th round. we've got the draw for the fourth for the fifth round happening. So that just makes everything a headache, to be honest. Yeah. So no, we don't not like the cups. We just want. I just want league fixtures, because that's where we can talk about the ins and outs. Anything else jump out at you for these? I think everything I've said before, that there's not been that many cup shocks this year. I know we in Muir Cup we've got Lesmere Hugo, Vale of Clyde beat Hurlford a few weeks ago as well, but it all looks pretty standard across the cup competitions, especially this weekend.
I think the only thing that sort of stands out is obviously the score lines for a couple of the fixtures. You've got Nielsen 9 and is it St Cadoc's 7 goals. Yeah. And even if you're a team divisions below, that's not easy to take, and it's a bit of a nightmare as a manager, as a player. It's a confidence hit. So,
well, I don't want to bring this up, but obviously
you're going to anyway, aren't you? You're going to bring it up.
You lost 8-1 to Dalry earlier on in the season. As a manager, how do you pick the team up from that?
So that game was very different, but I'm not going to go into all my excuses. Right? But how do we pick them?
Oh, Chris Wilson will have texted me before this show is finished.
Right, exactly. So I'm not going to say anything.
But no, but I mean, it must be.
No, but at the same time, like, I just think it's just bringing energy back to training on the Monday and just almost forgetting about it, clean slate. And we were fortunate in that moment because we lost on the Friday night to Dalry, and obviously that's probably the worst defeat of my time in football coaching. To concede 8 is embarrassing, if not devastating. But then we went and played Easterhouse on the Tuesday, and that was the best thing that could have happened because we were just straight to another game, and we went and won that, and then we won the next game, and quite quickly it was just forgotten about. So the best way to get rid of it is win the next game, to be honest, because if you start losing after a big defeat like that, it's hard to get the boys going again.
Yeah, I think it's just about, as you said, energy, enthusiasm, making sure that the boys don't sack off training on the Monday. They're there, they show their face.
On the Monday, I try and make the session as fun as possible after the loss. And I know there's loads of work to be done, but I think the boys are much happier if they come in and do something fun on the Monday, and then we'll do our shaping and stuff on the Thursday. Yeah,
I just make it enjoyable, and as you said, just try and park it. Don't even talk about it. Sometimes can sometimes be the best way to just kind of forget about it. And I know you talked about St Cadoc's there. I'm sure Connor will be doing the same at Royal Albert this weekend to get them picked back up off after that result. Okay, James, we've got a question here for James Moore asking, why do the uni not play at the vet school campus?
Good question. So if anyone's that's been there, the science park's up there at Garscube. The pitches are outstanding grass pitches. There's 5 or 6 of them. There's also an AstroTurf. Now we train there on a Monday and a Thursday. We play there on a Wednesday, but for Saturday and Friday or West of Scotland games, we use it as our licensed stadium. So Glasgow Uni can play in the Scottish Cup as we did this year, and without playing at Airdrie, we wouldn't be allowed to play in the Scottish Cup. So that is the main reason as to why we play there. Now there is plans in place to build a stadium at Garscube around one of the grass pitches. I can't tell you how far along them plans are, but that is our hope in the future because it's a fantastic place to play. Any manager that we take for pre-season, any team that we take, they're always going, these pitches are outstanding. So it would be better for us, but it doesn't suit us right now. But to have a more local place to play with good pitches, that's what we want to do in the long term.
Mm-hmm. No, great. Thanks for answering that. I wasn't even sure. I remember playing at the science parks when I was just a boy. I remember Rangers used to play their pro youth games at the science parks, and it was always a magnificent setup. The pitches were always brilliant.
A lot of the full-time teams train there. If Bayern Munich come in and play Celtic, they go and train up at the science park. So it's still a good quality venue and it's fantastic. And they've got 3 or 4 ground staff there that are full-time. So it's well looked after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's brilliant. But I know, great. Thanks for answering that. I don't think there's anything else in the comments. Just have a look through. Just Liam Callow just saying breaking news: Pyramid Promotions have sacked Jonny Baillie. Maybe who knows? Depends what the viewing figures are like, to be honest. But Listen, James, it's been great you joining us on the show this evening. I really appreciate it. It's been really enlightening to hear about Glasgow Uni, the workings of it and stuff like that. And I hope everybody that's been watching has enjoyed it as well.
Oh, thank you very much, Jonny. As I said, it's a pleasure to be on, and I really enjoyed it. And if you ever want me on again, just let me know, and I'd be happy to do it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And just a wee bit of breaking news, to be honest. I've heard from someone connected somewhere, I'm not going to say where, that the Auchinleck game's not going to take place at Beechwood.
Oh, no.
Just might be wrong. You know, you never know. But
I don't
know. That's just what I've had a wee message from someone. Again,
that's not good news to end on, Jonny. Huh?
I know. But listen, I've got to get it out there. You know, so
absolutely.
Well, we'll find out. I'll find out if I'm right or not. But that's what I've heard. Like I said, might be wrong. But I hope that, in a way, I hope I'm wrong. To be honest, but we'll just wait and see. But listen, mate, good luck on Friday, and good luck for the rest of the season. I'll obviously keep in touch with you, but all the best. Hopefully, getting into one of those top 8 spots.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Brilliant. Okay, only 23 games over the weekend. This weekend, 107 goals, 4.6, so we're way above the 4.5. The 4-goal average as usual, so 4.6 goals a game average, thanks to St Cadoc's and Neilston for getting the average up a lot. Thanks very much. So as we always say, if you're looking for value for money, dig out a tenner. If you're looking for something to do on Friday night, and get yourselves along to Airdrie and watch Glasgow Uni versus Girvan. And if you're at a loose end on a Saturday, go and find your local West of Scotland club and support them, because I'm sure they'll appreciate it. Reminder, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the like button and subscribe to the Pyramid Promotions channel. And if you're listening on audio form, please download the episode, rate it and review it. Our sponsors have been Roxburgh Insurance Brokers, GLA Chauffeurs and VSN Sport. Until next week, Sunday night, 7 o'clock, I've been Jonny Baillie. He's been James McCauley. Take care of yourselves and each other. Cheers.